Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out the tragic true story of Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones.
Gimme Shelter is my favourite Stones song of all time. There's something about Keith Richards' swelling, mournful guitar, those bluesy licks and those haunting oohs at the beginning. For me, no other song paints quite a picture of the world's anxieties in the 60s, not to mention those immeasurable vocals from Mary Clayton. However, after learning what I'm about to share with you in this video, I can't listen to the song in the same way. Every time I do, it sends shivers down my spine.
Y'all be sure to go to Music Mongoose and like and subscribe. I've definitely heard this song many times. I like it. I don't think it's my favorite Stones song. That would probably be Jumpin' Jack Flash or maybe Painted Black. But I don't know the story behind this song. I can't even think of the lyrics. I know it's just a shot away. It's just a shot away. Well, this was in the late 60s, so I remember there were a lot of turbulent times. Okay.
So, let's get into it. Welcome back to Music Mongoose. If you love diving into music history like I do, or just like finding out new facts about your favourite bands and artists, then click subscribe below and join the pack.
Y'all be sure to like and subscribe. Let's do it. Let's like it. I'm already subscribed. I just clicked the like. Okay.
The tone of the song feels light, almost playful, yet it emerged from some of the darkest circumstances. The Rolling Stones were still trying to recover from the backlash of their poorly received 1967 album, Their Satanic Majesty's Request, which had nearly buried their career. Compounding their troubles was the deteriorating physical and emotional state of co-founder and guitarist Brian Jones.
Y'all, I just reacted to a video about their rock and roll circus. It's a big show they put on. They kept it buried for 30 years before releasing it. One of the reasons was that Brian Jones looked not so great in that, and it was his last show with them. And he passed away, I think, like 3 months later. That Satanic Verses album, it seems like the Rolling Stones were always just one step behind the Beatles, as everybody else. I mean, everybody else was many, many, many steps behind the Beatles around then. But this was the Rolling Stones' kind of Sgt. Pepper attempt, is what I understand. Please don't come at me if that isn't true. But that's just a simplified version of the story as how I understand it. Moving on.
Compounding their troubles was the deteriorating physical and emotional state of co-founder and guitarist Brian Jones. Their 1968 album Beggar's Banquet, mostly recorded with just Keith Richards on guitar, had been a triumph. But despite this, their last hit with Jones, Jumpin' Jack Flash, had been their only UK chart success in 18 months. To make matters worse, Keith's girlfriend, Anita Pallenberg, whom he had taken from Jones the previous year, was filming intimate scenes with Mick Jagger for his movie debut, In Performance. So, at this time, Keith Richards was depressed as hell, and he was hanging out in a Mayfair apartment owned by gallery owner Robert Fraser.
That is some complicated relationships stuff. So Brian Jones was going out with her, and then Keith Richards started going out with her, but she was filming intimate scenes with Mick. Wow.
It was an awful, stormy autumn day, and there, depressed about the thought of Anita being with Mick Jagger, Keith Richards started to strum his guitar. It was just a terrible fucking day, he recalls in his memoir, Life. This incredible storm over London, so I got into that mode, looking at all these people running like hell. Relying on the open chords that had become his signature, he sang, "Oh, a storm is threatening my very life today." It sounded good. He kept strumming, adding, "If I don't get some shelter, oh yeah, I'm gonna fade away." 6 months later, when the Stones regrouped to work on their next album, Let It Bleed, the song Keith had started on that stormy day, now titled Gimme Shelter, was one of the first tracks he and Jagger began developing, with
Let It Bleed, a play on the album Let It Be. That's how I understand it. What year did Let It Bleed come out? November 28th, 1969. Let It Be came out in 1970. Hang on. Whoa, Let It Bleed actually came out several months before Let It Be. Let It Bleed, December 5th, 1969, and Let It Be, March 6th, 1970. Wow. I stand corrected. Maybe there was an association, though. That's kind of strange.
now titled Gimme Shelter, was one of the first tracks he and Jagger began developing with producer Jimmy Miller. The album would go on to feature other monumental tracks, including Jagger's You Can't Always Get What You Want. However, everything the Stones would come to embody, their reputation as the greatest, most legendary, daring, sophisticated, dark, evil, sexy, and cool rock and roll band in the world, was encapsulated in the apocalyptic Gimme Shelter, the album's opening track. The track itself would take another 6 months to complete, and during that time, the Stones faced one of the most turbulent periods of their career, artistically, personally, and commercially. After Brian Jones, who had officially been ousted from the group in June '69, was found dead in his swimming pool just 3 weeks later, the Stones proceeded with their planned free concert in Hyde Park, now with new guitarist Mick Taylor. They also announced their first US tour in 3 years, beginning in November. But first, they needed to finish the album. It was primarily recorded at Olympic Studios in London and Elektra Studios in Los Angeles from February to October 1969.
Elektra Studios in Los Angeles? I've not heard of this. Show me on a map. Oh, that's what it looked like. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, and Olympic Studios in London. I've definitely heard of that. Show me on a map. Yes, that's right. I've looked this up before. Right. It's now a theater, I believe, and a restaurant, but it's called Olympic Studios still. Something like that. Very cool. Okay, moving on.
Elektra Studios in Los Angeles from February to October 1969. Al Kooper, who contributed keyboards and French horn to You Can't Always Get What You Want, comments on Jagger's artistic dominance. Mick was really the producer. He knew what he wanted and was involved in almost everything, he said. Engineer Glyn Johns added, I don't think Mick did much beyond a producer's role. Jimmy Miller played an active part, but it was more of a co-production. Regarding Brian Jones, Cooper remembers, he was just sort of lying in the corner on his stomach reading an article on botany. Cooper was also struck by the Stones' impressive culinary spread. There was a great deal of cannabis and the like passed around, he recalled. At dinner time, 2 vans arrived with a feast like I'd never seen in a studio. Lamb chops, curried dishes, top-notch desserts. A pot smoker's dream. So the album was coming together, but Jimmy Miller felt that Gimme Shelter was missing something.
It's nice to know they were living like rock stars, you know? Get comfortable, boys. Make some music.
The album was coming together, but Jimmy Miller felt that Gimme Shelter was missing something. An extra layer to take it from good to great. And it's here that things would get very dark for someone in particular. They found that missing element in 20-year-old Mary Clayton, recommended by producer and longtime Stones collaborator Jack Nietzsche. Clayton had already made a name for herself with duets and backing vocals for Ray Charles, Burt Bacharach, and Elvis Presley, among others.
I've only read her name in the credits. Mary Clayton. She has a Wikipedia. Soul and gospel singer. They mention Gimme Shelter. She's from Gerttown, New Orleans. Okay. She's sung with a lot of big names, including Elvis, y'all.
Recommended by producer and longtime Stones collaborator Jack Nietzsche, Clayton had already made a name for herself with duets and backing vocals for Ray Charles, Burt Bacharach, and Elvis Presley, among others. In interviews, she goes into detail about how Jack reached out to her.
So it was like very late at night, and I was very, a little pregnant.
Music.
Had curlers and the whole thing.
She's pregnant.
I'm ready to go to bed. And we got a call, Mary. There's a group of guys in town called the Rolling Somebodies, and they're from England.
They didn't know.
Need somebody that will sing with them. They picked me up with silk pajamas on, a mink coat, and a Chanel scarf on my head.
Clayton explained what happened to NPR's Fresh Air program. I was hunkered down in bed with my husband, very pregnant, when I got a call from my dear friend and producer, Jack Nietzsche. He asked, Mary, are you busy? I replied, no, I'm in bed. He said, well, there are some guys in town from England who need someone to sing a duet, but I can't find anyone. Could you come? At that point, Clayton's husband intervened, grabbing the phone from her. My husband got upset and said, you're calling Mary at this time of night for a session. She's pregnant. Despite this, Nietzsche managed to win him over. In the end, he persuaded me. Honey, you really should go and do this session, he said.
Funny. It said in Wikipedia that her husband was a jazz musician, Curtis Amy. So he probably understood what was going on.
As they began that session, the impact Mary would have was immediate.
He said, you want to do another one? I said, sure, I'll do another one.
I mean, she just did it like a couple of times, you know.
So I said to myself, I'm going to do another one. I'll blow them out of this room.
Awesome.
I went in again and I did that pass on the part that says, Ray Murdoch, just a shot away. So I had to go up another octave.
Those are the lyrics? Oh, crap. I didn't know those were the words. R word and M word is just a shot away.
I mean, it's
She
one
really
of the
went for
most
it.
impressive rock backing vocals of all time, isn't it? I
Yeah.
love hearing Mick Jagger's excited whoop in the background as she absolutely nails those high notes, her voice almost cracking on demand, adding such a
It did
raw
crack.
emotion. While it's unfortunate that Mary Clayton's name isn't as widely recognised as the Rolling Stones, the song is also tied to a personal tragedy for her. One so profound that it left her unable to listen to the track for years, let alone sing it. The true tragedy occurred shortly after the session when Mary Clayton returned home and suffered a miscarriage. Now, many have attributed the loss to the intensity of the session, the emotional stress, and the time of night, which took a toll on Clayton and
Really?
her unborn child.
Damn, would that do it? I don't know. I don't know if that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how the body works. But that doesn't seem like enough to cause a miscarriage. Maybe it is.
And the time of night, which took a toll on Clayton and her unborn child. However, of course, none of that could actually be proven. It might have just been an awful coincidence. The pain of that experience became so deeply intertwined with the song that Clayton found it nearly impossible to listen to Gimme Shelter in the years that followed, let alone perform it. She had lost something.
Oh, God, that would be so weird. Yeah, the baby was alive and, as far as she knew, well in her when she was singing that. Did it say the next day? Clayton returned home and suffered a miscarriage.
Many have attributed the loss. The true tragedy occurred shortly after the session when Mary Clayton returned home and suffered a miscarriage.
Just says shortly after the session. Oh my God.
However, of course, none of that could actually be proven. It might have just been an awful coincidence. The pain of that experience became so deeply intertwined with the song that Clayton found it nearly impossible to listen to Gimme Shelter in the years that followed, let alone perform it. She had lost something so precious, and to think she sacrificed that just for the sake of a song, I mean, you can understand why she found it unbearable. Thankfully, with the support of loved ones, she eventually overcame this situation. In 1986, 17 years after the song's recording, she reflected to the LA Times about it. That was a dark, dark period for me, but God gave me strength to overcome it. I turned it around. I took it as life, love, and energy, and directed it in another direction. So it doesn't really bother me to sing Gimme Shelter now.
Good for
Life
her.
is short as it is, and I can't live on yesterday. When you listen to Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones, you can't help but be struck by Clayton's incredible vocals. And knowing the context and the tragedy that surrounds it adds another layer to the listening experience.
Yeah.
But the story of Gimme Shelter would take a darker turn still. The track became the most acclaimed album-only song in the Stones' discography. International Times called it the cleverest amalgam of powerful sounds the Stones have yet created, while Newsweek described it as ecstatic, ironic, all-powerful, an erotic exorcism for a doomed decade. However, it also became the symbol of the transition from the idealistic 60s to the troubled 70s. Released in December 1969, on the same day as the Stones' infamous appearance at Altamont Speedway in Northern California, where teenager Meredith Hunter was tragically stabbed to death by a Hells Angels member, Gimme Shelter would also lend its name to the Maysles Brothers documentary of that chaotic event. And luckily for you, I made an entire video about this event, the time that 300,000 people rocked up to a free Rolling Stones concert for it to end in tragedy. You can click over here to watch that one next.
100,000 people. Oh my gosh. Wow. Man. It's spooky. It's really spooky the way Keith Richards wrote that song There was a storm coming to London. It was a spooky moment for him. Wrote a song about it, the Brian Jones stuff, the baby thing, and then it was released on the day where that girl got stabbed. Yeah, I think I gotta listen to it just to break the seal. I wish I could play it on YouTube. War Children. It's just a shot away. Oh man. I didn't know, I never really paid attention to the lyrics, but I see why some journalists said that was the end of the 60s. War Children, it's just a shot away. Yeah, that was like around Vietnam, right? What year did USA send troops to Vietnam? 1965. That's earlier than I thought. I guess it escalated because it wasn't officially a war, right? We didn't declare war on them. We just... Is history repeating itself, y'all? Damn. Okay. Yeah, wow. What a bummer. Well, be sure to go to Music Mongoose and like and subscribe. I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see y'all next time. Later.